When the original Kona surfed onto the market back in 2017, its popularity surprised even Hyundai. Meet the sequel. I'm at a press launch for the 2024 model in, where else? Baltimore, Maryland. Hyundai is hoping to ride the same wave as the first generation. The competition never stands still.
This small SUV segment is probably one of the more competitive ones in the industry, right? There's a lot of parity. There's a ton of new models that entered that are doing really good. And so we really want to point that out and kind of really see where we stack up, put us to the test against the best, right?
Kona competitors include Honda HR-V, Chevy Trailblazer, and Subaru Crosstrek, to name a few. And if you felt like the first generation Kona was a little bit too small, this one's bigger, almost 6 inches longer and an inch wider.
We increased the body rigidity application of hot stamping parts and high-strength steel more than the previous Kona. And also safety, front collision safety. We reinforced a bunch of the side members. We added an impact bar to disperse loads and really just to spread out and absorb the collision energy that comes through. And also side collision members have been reinforced as well.
Kona 2024's architecture is a modified version of the outgoing car. The wheelbase is stretched 2.3 inches. Move past the sleeker sheet metal and there's a roomier cabin with a spendier vibe, plus more available features like this blind spot camera on the limited model. It gets a surround view camera system and 365-degree proximity sensors too. It and the N-Line models that Hyundai brought to Baltimore run with a 190 horsepower, 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. There are no SE or SEL versions here, so no word on how the 147-horse, 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder drives, other than slower. Both engines are carryover, by the way. I'm in an N-Line that swaps the protective contrasting side and wheel arch cladding for a monochrome look. The face and the tail are unique as well, plus there's this, which says go faster. But there is no added performance, Speed Racer. Essentially, it and the Limited have the same power and driving dynamics. Kona is more expensive now, but larger and gets more standard kit. A base front drive SE starts at $25,400 with destination. The MSRP of my all-wheel drive N-Line tester is $33,700. A fully loaded Limited is $34,500. This isn't going to be any quicker than the first generation Kona because it's using the same engines, plus this is a little bit heavier, but there's still decent oomph off the line for the class. I'd say this is 0 to 60 in 8 seconds or so, which is fine. There's some 300 extra pounds along for the ride now. As you might expect, that affects fuel economy. The all-wheel drive N-Line scores an EPA average of 26 miles per gallon on specified regular grade gas. On average, this is about 3 miles per gallon less efficient than Generation 1 because, well, it's heavier. Some details on the 1.6-liter turbo 4-cylinder drivetrain. It's rated at 190 horsepower, that's down by 5, and 195 pound-feet. Torque starts low in the rev range, always a good thing. There's a new 8-speed automatic transmission with a stock selector for more room in the cabin. The 2-liter gets a continuously variable tranny. Both engines can be had with front or all-wheel drive. With all 4 wheels driven, the rear suspension changes from a beam axle to independent multilink. There are the usual Hyundai drive modes. The all-wheel drive system can be locked. At the briefing, the Hyundai folks said a lot went into making Kona more refined.
Extreme measures were taken to minimize the interior road noise, wind noise, and powertrain noises. One of the cool things is our 19-inch tires feature a soundproof pad. There's a foam pad that goes inside the tire well. Several under pads that we've done, rear suspension bushings that we've applied to help with road noise. Wind noise, we've sealed a lot of the high entry points. And then the other thing is the powertrain noise. When you guys are driving this car, you're gonna notice that it's much quieter.
So, my take, after 50 miles, a friend of mine has a first-generation Kona, and she does complain about the road noise. This is noticeably quieter. You'll definitely be able to tell the difference. And at 75 miles an hour,
almost no wind noise coming off the A-pillars.
Another improvement, the lane keeping and adaptive cruise control are clearly next generation with more confident tracking. The staff on hand said nothing about when or if a full-on performance N model will arrive, and Line is about looking sporty without a punishing suspension.
The ride quality of this is a good balance of a little bit of sport and a good amount of comfort. And remember, the all-wheel drive version has a different suspension setup.
Its independent rear should offer some sophistication over the front-wheel drive's beam axle, keep that in mind. Visibility is decent. It seems like there's more glass now. In all aspects, the new Kona is a better driving vehicle. The interior isn't just more hushed, it looks better too. Horizontal lines make it look wider. Materials have interesting textures. Even down below, the plastics keep the quality up. It's not Lexus NX great, but this is nearly half the cost.
Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. I keep saying we're shorter than the competition, but when you take a look at the interior, our engineers really maximize and optimize the interior space of this vehicle. Kona offers class-leading passenger volume. Now, in addition to that, the cargo volume, right? So you look at total interior volume, that's a key measurement when you're looking at CUVs because it tells you how much passenger space you have as well as the cargo capacity. So you can see here just the difference of how Kona's jumped up.
Hyundai designers said they were going for a more usable and practical cabin. Nothing says that more than the center console area. Don't need cup holders? Tuck them away. There's enough flexibility here that an owner could remove some of these components and carry gear up front. I have a tripod that I'm pretty sure would stash here with all these sections gone. And this shelf is a handy place for protein bars and such. Just don't leave them in the sun. Dual 12.3-inch displays in the N-Line and Limited are fused to look like one, similar to the setup in Hyundai's Ioniq 5 and 6, which are far more expensive. The sunroof gets larger too. N-Line gets grippy seat material and bolstering that keeps passengers from sliding around, powered for the driver, manual for the passenger, heated too. It also gets red accents that might get tiresome after months of ownership, and the bright line doesn't sweep evenly across the dashboard. The step might bother Virgos. Here's a quick look at a limited model. The more subtle approach to the trim de-emphasizes that jog and gives the dash a more cohesive visual. Limited is the only model with synthetic leather and vented seats, by the way. Kona can be kind of fancy. The Bose system is pretty good too. The user interface that will improve with OTA updates is solid with good layout and response. In some ways, it resembles what you'd find in a Genesis vehicle. Also, it's mounted high, so eyes have a better chance of keeping sight of the road. There are the right amount of hard buttons, not everything's been shipped off to the screen, and that's dual zone climate control, kids. This section can be used to prop a phone up. Chances are owners will use the Qi charge pad. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard.
We listened. I actually stood at several media presentations and was asked how come we don't offer wireless Apple CarPlay on our top trim models. It just didn't make sense because our base models, just like today, offer wireless. As you step up and pay more and get a navigation system with more features, you lost that function. So one of the great things that we're going to do is we're going to be pushing out the enabling wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto through the OTA updates. Not quite ready yet, but towards the end of the year, we're targeting that we're going to begin pushing that out.
A bigger Kona means more room in the back seat now. The carpool gang will really appreciate that. Headroom is decent, same with knee, leg, and foot room. I can tuck my Nikes under the chair, and the cushion is high enough so that thigh support is pretty good. There's a place for a bottle of water. There are now vents back here, and places for folks to charge their phone. Part of the extra room back here comes from using high-strength steel in these seats, making them 30% thinner. Let me get out of here and give you a better shot of the back seat. One thing my evil twin would really gripe about, no pocket on this seat back. I don't like that either. Nice that there are a couple extra cup holders here. Hyundai could have saved money by not putting that in. This isn't too intrusive. It goes away in the electric version of the Kona. But you know, all in all, for a smaller vehicle, the back seat is fairly roomy. There really isn't anything to complain about here.
Hyundai's designers don't do small, medium, and large versions of the same styling language. Kona does have some family cues, but this definitely looks different from Tucson, Santa Fe, and Palisade. This light bar shows up on the Sonata mid-cycle refresh, and it's echoed in back.
And on the body side, we call this a parametric surface, and you see this cue being repeated in our Ioniq 5, the Tucson. So it's kind of like a family look that we have going on right now. And kind of infusing it with the rear spoiler. That's what makes it kind of a unique SUV, this high rear spoiler, and just tying it together in one single line.
Some won't like the turn indicators down low, something Hyundai does a lot of. But Kona's new clothes are fresh and crisp. It comes in bright colors for people that want some pop. Even the center-mounted brake light gets integrated into the roofline, not just tacked on. Personally, I prefer the personality of the contrasting fenders over the painted panels on the N-Line.
I'm on the road, so no TP trunk tests. Now, there is a power tailgate available, but it is optional, and only on the Limited.
The outgoing Kona had 19 cubic feet of storage space, not loads of room. That's grown substantially to over 25 cubes. Privacy covers help keep valuables out of sight, but usually they don't store well in the car, especially hard ones like this. I find this touch absolutely brilliant, and I've not seen the storage method on any other car. Hooks and tie-downs too. Nice. It helps that the floor is dual level and, what's this? A spare tire? That's standard on all-wheel drive Konas. Front-wheel drive models get a repair kit. Even for smaller owners, dropping the backs won't be a reach. I don't expect 40-20-40 splits on budget-priced vehicles. And this, folks, is nearly 64 cubic feet of space to fill, excellent in class. If it only had a fold-flat front seat like Buick Encore GX, you could schlep surfboards. My time with Kona was brief, but I'll wing red light, green light. Green light. Everything about the vehicle, ride quality, quietness, and materials feels more premium, a full grade in fact. Kona's new styling is more mature, but keeps some familiarity. With over 13 cubic feet of additional interior room, it's pretty much best-in-class space for people in cargo, and there are clever touches to make the cabin more useful, not just the normal bins and glove boxes. Yellow lights. The N-Line gets a sporty visual, but it could confuse those that want additional performance. I like the Alcantara-like fabric of the N-Line chairs, but staring at the red dash strip could get old in a hurry. The different models are strategically appointed, but essentially have no option packages, so for certain features, buyers are forced into specific trims. Red lights. Low-mounted indicator lights might not be seen by other drivers. Carryover engines don't get any extra power and have to deal with additional weight. Fuel economy is down across the board, and there's no hybrid model like Corolla Cross. But the EV powertrain will return with a choice of battery packs and a top estimated range of 260 miles. There are a lot of choices in Kona's segment now. In addition to those mentioned, there's Volkswagen Taos, Nissan Kicks and Rogue Sport, Chevy Trax, Buick Envista, Mazda CX-30, and sister Kia Seltos.
If you're thinking about one of the competitors, you really owe it to yourself to test drive the second generation Kona. It's refined, it's affordable, it's got more room now, plus it offers something that the competitors don't always do, a choice of powertrains.
Kona has been a popular way to get around for years. This new wave is a larger, smoother one. For many buyers in the small SUV segment, it's a good one to catch. You all know that I take pride in my photography. On events like this, it's pretty basic, no fancy slider stuff. It's all I can do to get decent shots to cover my words. And I'll leave you with this. Hyundai has done something bold with connected tech.
So we're introducing on all of our 24 model year vehicles BlueLink Plus. So what that is previously there was a 3-year subscription that was included with the purchase of the vehicle. Now we're making it all inclusion with no expiration as long as you're the first owner of the vehicle. So you get all the BlueLink functions. This is kind of highlighting all the features that BlueLink or Connected Car Services offers. But the main thing I want to point out is against all the competitors, it's such a cluster. I don't know how as a consumer you would understand what you get. So we just forget it. Just give everything.
That's significant. And if the vehicle is sold, the new buyers have a trial period. Plus, some features like SOS emergency locating will always be active and free. Now, a few people have complained about the sound bites that I use from these events. Really? Don't you want to know what it's like to be here? This is a good look at what auto writers go through. I'm all about accuracy and letting you know the strengths and weaknesses of a vehicle. And full disclosure, Hyundai flew me to Baltimore, fed me, and put me up for a couple nights. Speaking of,
Before I go, this sort of looks like the Windows screensaver, doesn't it? And speaking of familiarity, check this out. This is the hotel where this event was staged out of. Does it look familiar? Well, if you watched Homicide: Life on the Street, this is the police station. And now it's a fancy hotel. There you go. Always like to leave you with a little something. Thanks for watching. Remember, subscribe to this channel, click notifications, and if you have a question, leave it in the comments. I'll try to get to you. That's Driven. I'm Tom Volk.